All right, guys. So welcome back to another episode of the MTSP podcast. Today's guest is one of my good buddies and sometimes a training partner, Jonathan Ike. So I'll go ahead and let him introduce himself, tell you a little bit about himself.
What's up, you guys? I'm Jonathan. Me and Mark have been training together for a little while, known each other for a long time. 24, been bodybuilding for now about 4 years. Gonna be competing in more so probably middle heavyweight. But we'll see where that goes. So, hands on here.
Yeah. So what are you fitting in? You said light heavyweight or middle?
Middle, I think right now, weighing. About as of 3 weeks ago, I was 216. And one of the coaches that I've been kind of working with here and there wanted me to do a little mini cut for about 8 weeks, kind of see what we built last couple of months and see what we got under all that fat. And so I'm down right now after about 3 weeks to 204 or 203.8 this morning. So we'll kind of see where that goes. And after we get done with this 8 weeks, see where I'm at, and go back up from there for looking to show sometime maybe in September, October, November of 2021. So that's the plan as of right now.
Oh yeah. How long left on the mini cut?
This is week 4, so about another 4 weeks. This
Cool.
is week 4, so then this week and another 4 weeks after that. So looking to hopefully get down maybe like 195. Definitely going to start adding in. Haven't done any cardio, so we've been down from 216 to 238 today with no cardio. Barely changed any food. So taking in about 3,200 calories right now, down from 4,200. So that was the beginning when I was still kind of bulking, put on some size. So not really cut out too much, but not added any cardio or anything yet. So we kind of see how it goes, and that's the plan, really not to really add any cardio in for the most part if I don't have to, besides 10-15 minutes warming up or just keep the heart healthy. Gonna kind of see where it goes here next 4 weeks and see what we can bring out.
How tall are you?
5'7" on a good day.
5'7" on a good day.
5'7" on a good day. Sometimes I'll say 5'8". Sometimes you're talking to a girl, you gotta stretch that out a little bit. You gotta be 5'8". But no, I'm 5'7". Actually, something that's funny about my height, just a little backstory. I used to go to endocrinologist whenever I was 9 years old, and I wasn't producing growth hormone. And all of us in the bodybuilding world know how important growth hormone is and how much of it is like gold nowadays. But anyway, my endocrinologist prescribed me some growth hormone because when I was 9 years old, my 6-year-old brother was about as tall as me. So we started that, and I was actually really, really short. And I was going into high school about 5'3", 5'4", and I was able to squeeze out a couple inches before my growth plates closed. So thankful for that, because I don't know how I'd be walking around here about 5'2" or 5'3", but for the bodybuilding world, it'd be great.
Yeah, you could be
bodybuilding world is great.
You'd be a mean 212 competitor.
Yeah, but
that's actually something I didn't. That's something I never knew about you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I went to an endocrinologist from when I was 9 all the way through my sophomore year of high school. So I was about 16, going on 17 when I stopped going there. Tried a lot of things, and growth hormone was our last option, and it's actually what worked. So
nice.
Very thankful for that.
Like you said, it really is like gold these days.
For sure. Looking back, I maybe would have saved it as much as I could, but you know how it goes.
Yeah. So. You know how it goes. I wanted to get your aspects and views on training, nutrition, cardio. So we'll dive in a little bit of that. Since you're on this mini cut, we have been training together, but the viewers don't know that we've been training together. So what kind of training style, training split have you been running? How long have you been running it for, and what has the progress, shown of that?
Well, for a while, I was just doing your normal split, chest, back, legs, shoulders, which has always worked well for me. And I would always switch it up here and there and go into push-pull split But lately, since actually me and you kind of talked, you're the one who kind of got me onto this, was been doing a little bit of push, pull, arms, legs, rest, and repeat. We all know that you take a little bit more of a rest with your legs because you know you don't need
Hey,
any more size there right now.
hey, I
But
don't. I take a little bit of rest in between how often I train legs, but I don't fucking.
no, nothing wrong with that.
I don't skimp on the actual intensity of the
Mm,
workouts.
no, never, never. I don't care when you're training or what you're training.
Right.
Can't be skipping on intensity. But no, I feel like that's been well for me. For the last I've probably been running with that for the last 2 or 3 months, and I feel like it's done well for me for this last 3 months, and I feel overall better growth and better shape with that split, being able to hit each body part at least twice a week. And kind of with me, focusing on more of my lacking areas, which have always been my arms, shoulders. Now I'm kind of focusing a little bit more on chest. Everyone that knows me knows really, and I mean this in the most humble way, that I really don't have a problem with my legs. So upper body is more of a focus for me. So there are some days that I will have, I will not train legs as frequently, but I will still, obviously keep that intensity up on the legs on the days I do train legs. So shoulders and arms right now are a big priority, as well as we're going to start adding a little bit more into chest here. But everything stayed same. And one thing I can say is when I did kind of clean everything up, when I started this mini cut, everything in the gym also, skyrocketed too. My strength, my vascularity, the pumps, everything else just went flowed a lot better. Hydration has been on point, and I think it's a huge thing a lot of people lack is hydration. I was actually talking to one of my buddies, and he was actually one of my old clients. I used to just try and pound his head, I need you to drink, X amount of water this day. And he never did. And, it was always a fight or whatever. It was, we're good friends, so we kind of joke around about it. But, he came to me the other day and was like, hey, man, I drink I think he said like a gallon of water or something. And I drank actually a full gallon of water today. And, I was pissing all day long. But you know what? I woke up the next day, I was 4 pounds lighter and I felt leaner. I was like, and, imagine if you would have listened this whole time about me telling you to drink water. So, a lot of people don't realize how important that is. And everyone says, well, I feel like the more water I drink, the more water I hold, which really it's the complete opposite. We'll dive into that a little bit later, and you get a little bit different when your kidneys come into play, and the more water you drink, the more water you're going to excrete. So something a little bit to think about whenever you guys are looking at your fluid intake.
Right, because the more you drink, the more you flush it out, and it's just a reoccurring process of drinking and peeing, and
right. Your body wants to regulate. Your body's made the way your body anatomy is set up. Your body wants to. And that's part of what your kidneys and your liver are for, and that's to regulate your fluid levels and your electrolytes and everything else. So whenever you're not drinking enough water, your body wants to hold on to more water to be able to move oxygen, to be able to move blood cells and everything else, everything that water is responsible for. So, whenever you're able to drink more water and circulate that and cycle that through your body, it works out a lot better, especially training and digestion. There's so many roles that water will play into your diet and into your training. So very important.
Do you feel that if you don't drink enough water, your joints tend to get more achy?
I definitely tend to get more achy. I don't get the pumps that I normally do in the gym. I definitely see my vascularity is down. The first thing I would say that I notice is my digestion. My digestion gets fucked up whenever I don't drink enough water, and
Right.
it doesn't matter how many digestive enzymes or probiotics I'll take. If I'm not drinking enough water, my digestion is screwed, and that just comes down to being able to help break down your food and move it through your intestines and everything else, and have your body deliver that nutrients. As plays a huge role in nutrient delivery. And you're not getting enough water, that food isn't going to really help digest you well. So that's the first thing I notice is my digestion. So I already know if I am having any kind of whether it's constipation or I'm backed up or anything like that, the first thing I look at, okay, how much water did I drink today, and kind of see where I'm at.
Right. I do notice that if I don't drink enough water, the pumps are non-existent. One,
For sure.
like you said, the digestion is honestly a big factor because it's easy to put down a meal with water, but if you don't drink any water, it's definitely a lot harder to put down the meal. Um, I knew a piece of advice that someone once told me and that I've tried out and it definitely worked is, when you're in prep and you have a meal and it's not going to fill you up and you're going to be hungry, an hour later, but your next meal isn't for 3 hours. I've always took like, I don't have a cup around, but I've always took like a 32-ounce cup of water or 28-ounce, and I'll chug that before my meal. And then I'll sip on water as I eat my meal. And yes, it might bloat me as I'm eating the meal or afterwards, but you feel full, you don't feel the craving, and you're not putting any extra calories in your body. But once that bloat comes off, at the end of the day, you're still lean if you're dieting.
Exactly. That helps you out a ton. And
Does.
the other thing too, while we're on the topic of digestion, is if your digestion's fucked up and you're not in a good place, that makes it 10 times harder for you to get your meals in. And because the thing is, if you're not, one, getting enough fiber and getting enough water in, and you're not being able to go to the bathroom, um, how much harder is that for you to get your meals? I know for me, on days that I'm eating, the days that I eat, when I was at one point eating 5,000, close to 6,000 calories a day, my digestion was screwed. I wouldn't be able to get half of that food in. There's no
Yeah.
way. I would never be able to. I felt like I still had meal one from 7 o'clock in the morning sitting on my stomach.
Yeah.
So, and at that point, you and I know, and everybody else in the world, competes in bodybuilding or trains for bodybuilding. It's you got to force that food down. That food's got to get down there somehow. So by the end of the day, you're eating that food and your digestion's fucked up. You feel like a complete piece of shit.
Yeah.
And that's not the best feeling. So I think one of the most important things when it comes to training and nutrition is making sure your digestion is on point.
Right. I feel like if your digestion's not on point and your water's not on point, then I don't think your body's going to shuttle the nutrients to where it needs to for you to grow.
No, not at all. And that's where it starts. And you hear this all the time. You can't out train a bad diet. You can't do this. You can't do that. And as cliche and as cheesy as it is, it's so true. Everything starts with your nutrition. Everything starts with your diet. That's where everything. You go back to the drawing board. That's where you start at. You look at problems and you look at hormonal issues. You look at gut issues. You look at blood work. It all goes back to your diet. It doesn't matter what drugs you're running. It doesn't matter what vitamins you're taking or what supplements you're taking. All that stuff. Is an additive to your diet. Your diet plays a huge role in everything you do. Your sleep, your training, your mental focus, your work ethic, everything. So I tell everybody that's where it starts. Your diet and your sleep are two of the most important things, and that's one place for me at least. I don't know about you, but my sleep right now with me being in school, working 12-hour shifts and fitting my training in, my sleep right now is taking a little bit of sacrifice. But that's when you
Yeah,
really
but
have to make sure everything else is on point.
do you find that once you get to sleep, you sleep better since you've been busy all day?
For the most part, my thing is I've always been a light sleeper, so little things wake me up here and there. So I do sometimes I'll take melatonin or utilize a couple other things that help me sleep at night. But when I do that, I have to make sure I'm getting it in bed at a reasonable time because
Yeah.
if I have to be up, say for example, if I have to be up at 4:30 to be at the hospital by 7, I can't take melatonin at 10 o'clock at night because I'll never get up. So I have to make sure I'm in bed about 8 o'clock. So everything kind of has to fall together. You have to make sure you plan your day, and that comes with I think one thing with bodybuilders or anybody who competes or is trains for that, you really have to have your day pretty regimented. Your
Yeah.
life is pretty regimented, and you and I both know when something is half hour off or 15 minutes out of place, you kind of your schedule kind of gets all messed up.
Oh
You're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay,
If
I
I
gotta readjust and
if I push back a meal, 15 minutes, that pushes back the next meal about a half an hour, pushes back the next meal like an hour. It's just it gets in that whole
right.
process of being
Well,
fucked up. But one thing you said that I want to touch on is talking about sleep and melatonin, or just sleep in general. I've noticed that say it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm getting like super tired, where to the point where I can close my eyes and fall asleep like that. If I fight that urge to fall asleep and stay awake for say another hour and play, and not necessarily play on my phone because I know the light of the screen will keep you up, I'll lose that sleepiness and then it's just fucked.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like with
that's how I am.
yeah, with
That's how I
melatonin,
am.
I
I will.
freaking bad.
What? No, good. What were you saying? Melatonin. What?
Like with melatonin, if I take it, like if I took it right now, which is 10 o'clock, and I'm getting tired by 10:30. If I fight that urge, even with the melatonin in my system, it'll just basically not work, and I'll just continue staying up.
That's how I get if I don't take melatonin. Like right now, um, I'm pretty awake, but I can see myself getting pretty tired the next half hour or so. Um, but if I would fight that urge and get on my phone and watch YouTube videos or get on Instagram or whatever, um, then I would be awake. But
Mhm.
when I take melatonin, I make sure I'm kind of in the spot where I'm like, okay, dude, like you're taking this now. 15 minutes from now, you're gonna about to be on your ass.
Yeah, yeah,
Plug your phone in and leave it alone, because that's the thing is my thing is if I do get on my phone and I start watching things or I start getting interested into something, then I will stay up
right,
and then I'm screwed.
right.
So I kind of when I do take melatonin, when I do take anything that I'm using to help me sleep, I
Hmm.
just make sure I'm ready to, that's it. That's my night. Um, because if I do start getting occupied with other things, then my whole schedule is messed up. And that screws
That's
me for the next day.
like to me, my schedule's so important. Even every 15, even every 5 minute block is has to be planned out for me, especially like being in school because I'm one of those people that once it hits 10 o'clock, because I don't usually fall asleep until like 11:30. Once it hits 10 o'clock, regardless of schoolwork or not, or client work or whatnot, I stop all work at 10 o'clock because from 10
Mm-hmm.
o'clock until 11, until say 10:30, I'll get a shower, start to wind down for the day, have my last meal. And then from 10:30 to 11:30 is like my time to just relax, calm down. I don't think I've ever done any type of work past 10 o'clock in probably the 4 years of college.
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I would.
I mean,
I would rather get up earlier than to sacrifice sleep at night.
yeah, see, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And that's, I struggle a lot in that aspect because for me, and granted, we both are, complete different majors for the most part, and what we study. But for me, I if I know I have something going on the next day, hence an exam, or I have something due that following day, um, I get so much anxiety and stress from
Oh
like,
yeah.
okay, I gotta get this done. So, man, there's times that I've been up till 4 or 5 in the morning doing shit, and
Right.
then my whole next day I'm fucked. The next day
Mhm.
I'm worthless. The next day, and and I think I agree. That's where I agree with you to that point where it's like, you're better off getting in bed at 10 o'clock, 10:30, going to sleep, getting your ass up at 4 o'clock if you have to, to where you can at least get some 6 hours of sleep
Right.
and getting your shit done in the morning. If you got to be somewhere at 8 o'clock, give yourself 2 or 3 hours in the morning to get your shit done, rather than sacrificing that sleep.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
like we said, that's so important for your next day to be able to function.
Yeah, absolutely. My training goes to shit, and if my training goes to shit, my mood goes to shit because my mood is depicted on or based off of how well my training session went. If it could have went better, I definitely show that in my mood towards people, which I don't try to purposely, but I'm a little bit irritated. I'm a little bit agitated for the entire
For
day
sure.
if my training is off.
Especially whenever you're, doing everything else. Bodybuilding is a 24-hour thing, and whenever you're timing your meals up and you're timing your sleep up, and your schedule, and then you go into the gym. Mostly a lot of times for us, going to the gym, that's our time to decompress and let everything out, the stress and anxiety, anger, whatever you have built up, whatever's going on. That's kind of your time to you just forget about everything, and you go in there and you train your ass off, and let everything out. And whenever you have a shitty workout, or whenever you have a shitty lift, or whenever don't get it in like you want to, that one, you feel like you wasted your time. So
Yep.
that's 2 hours or however long you're in the gym. That's time wasted.
Yep.
um that is anything, drugs wasted. That's any kind of supplements wasted. You just feel like it's that's part of your day that's just you're not going to get back. Something you weren't able to get everything out of that you've been trying to put into it. So that's aggravating. It's very aggravating.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I have a lot more days of those than I'd like to. And sometimes it's controllable. Sometimes you're able to, force a good workout in whenever you're feeling like shit. There's other days, man, where you can't control the situation on what's going on. You just have so much shit going on, and sometimes you gotta do the best you can. And it's hard to realize that, but you gotta understand. Sometimes you gotta just chalk it up and say, all right, man, I'm gonna get after it tomorrow, and we're just gonna kind of put this one behind us and keep moving forward. Because
Right.
it's inevitable. It's inevitable. You're gonna have those days. You're gonna have those days where you're tired, you're feeling like shit, and you kind of, try not to go through the motions, but that's what you end up doing. And you chalk it up and you go to the next day and just make sure the next day is better than the last.
Right, absolutely. Without going into too much further detail about that, I want to get back to like the nutrition side of things. How do you what's current macros sitting at 3,200 calories for you?
Right now, with me being 203, my protein right now is at 230. My carbohydrates are between, sometimes I'll fluctuate here and there depending on training days. On training days, I'll fluctuate between 360 and 400. And my fats are still, I haven't moved those at all. It's 75. So I'm keeping everything kind of around about how they've been for the last, I haven't changed anything in the last 3 weeks. So I'm kind of waiting to kind of see where I plateau a little bit with weight. My check-ins each week with,
Mhm.
I'm not checking in with anybody, but checking in with myself. I'm still seeing new lines developing, getting leaner in different areas. So the way I look at it, I'm not going to really change anything right now until I start seeing things that, I'm not making any kind of forward progress, whether it's whether I'm at a new low weight in the morning or whether I start seeing if I'm starting to hold water, if I'm starting to not see any more striations or other things leaning out in my body. So right now I'm kind of sitting good. First thing I usually take out for myself is carbs. That's where I usually start taking out. My protein really will never change for the most part. I usually keep my protein around 230. Off season it'll be upwards 250, 260, but that's just what's worked for me.
Yeah.
But right now my fats will stay where they're at until I really start getting down to the nitty gritty of stuff. But that doesn't I don't really see that happening on this little mini cut. I'm not stressing fats or getting down to the point where I'm they starve myself. And that's kind of what the coach I was working with, he said, I don't want you to be hungry, so I'm just making sure I'm still eating, still have 2 free meals a week right now. Most of the time I'll usually do those like on a leg day, or I'll do that on a day that I'm doing a little bit of cardio, do some cardio, 10 minutes cardio. But other than that, everything else is going pretty smooth for the most part.
Yeah. Talking about training and stuff, since you've been saying you ran the push pull arms legs, and I know that I got you on that trend. I've been thinking about changing it a little bit, just because the whole 4 days on, 1 off is just beating my body to hell. Just like the way we like to train is just so intense that I've noticed that 4 days on, 1 off is just, I think it's too much in a row. So I've been trying to look to a like a 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, and kind of be able to set my split up, because the whole push pull arms leg split is designed over basically a 10-day period, because you hit that rotation, you take a rest day, that's 5 days, then you hit the rotation again, but it's focusing on different muscles in that workout, and
Right.
take a rest day. So that's like a 10-day rotation before you hit the same workout again. I've been trying to want to get into, instead of 10 days, making it just 7, and focusing a little bit more on recovery, taking 2 days off a week. So I've been trying to work with developing a split that's kind of, fitting in that week gap. And I kind of created something. I want to run it by you and just see what you think. I'll do it like say for tomorrow, for example, if tomorrow starts my split, I was thinking about doing chest and biceps, and then Wednesday would be back, and then Thursday would be off. Friday would be legs. Saturday is push workout, but it's more shoulder dominant with a little bit of chest. Sunday is arms, and then Monday's off.
Yeah, see, I think here's my thing. When it comes to any split,
Anything's
you
going
can
to
make any
work as
split
long
work.
as you stick to it and work your ass off. Yeah, 100%.
Anything's gonna work, and I think here's the thing too. The way it seems like you however you proper grammar. I don't know. My head's so fucked up. I don't even know proper grammar right now. However you decided to build that, it sounds like you built that a lot off where you're trying to bring up your weaknesses.
Exactly.
And I think that's a very important part about anybody's split, whether that's a client who is being coached or whether that is somebody who is just working on their own right now to improve. You have to notice weakness, and you have to be able to build your split on where your weaknesses are at. So, right now, I think that would be something that would be beneficial for you, especially how your body feels, and that's the first thing I tell everybody is listen to your body. Pay attention to how you feel, because if you're training 4 days straight and then taking your rest day and you feel like shit, and you're still going back into your next day after your rest day feeling like shit, where's that getting you? That's not gonna you're not gonna get yourself anywhere. So it's and that really is important to a coach client perspective, because the client needs to be vocal and say, okay, here's how I'm feeling. You need to be honest. So back to your original question with your split, though, I think as long as you're putting your focus on where your weaknesses are at, I think any split is going to be beneficial as long as it fits your week and it fits your training schedule. So
right, absolutely.
I think and here's the thing too. A lot of things, I would say 80% of things when you're bodybuilding, especially when you start with a new coach or when you're kind of doing things by yourself, a lot of it's trial and error. So you want to run this maybe 6 weeks and see where you go, see how it feels, and if you're like, hey man, I'm not really getting too much out of this, back to the drawing board, and you kind of switch it up a little bit. So and that's anything, man. Training, diet, a lot of it is trial and error to start out with until you kind of find your groove and find what works for you. And there's nothing wrong with switching your splits up here and there. I tell a lot of people, and a lot of people have told me, if coaches that I've talked, they don't switch my splits, a lot. I'll be running the same for 6 months, 8 months, and we might switch out an exercise here and there, but a lot of people want you to get really good at the basics. A lot of people forget that, and it's I've worked with people who or I've even talked to people who said a month in, oh, when are we switching our program, when are we switching up? The way I look at it, motherfucker, you're not even progressing in your deadlift right now for me to switch that up. We're going to switch our programming whenever you're not even progressing a month in. So I really think you got to get really good at the exercises that you do, and then you get 2 months in, 3 months in, you say, okay, maybe we can throw out some throughout these dumbbell rows and add in chest supported rows, or we can add in seated cable rows, something different here and there, and you can kind of tweak things. But as a program or as a split in general, I think a lot of your main exercises, your compounds need to stay the same, as long as you're putting your focus on where your weak points are. And it goes with your training schedule. I think that's the most important part whenever you're doing anything.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason why I designed it that way is because my arms have always lagged, and if I hit buys and tries twice a week, and then my chest is definitely a spot I want to bring up now. So if I hit it on like a straight chest day, and then on push day, like 1 or 2 exercises, I think it'll get some more growth out of it. My problem in the past has been, I'll find 3 body parts that I think are lagging compared to others, and I'll try to prioritize 3 body parts at one time in one growth phase. and I don't think you can prioritize that many muscles in like one go.
I agree.
So like for me, for example, my shoulders lagged and my arms lagged. So I set up a split that brought my shoulders up. My arms still lag a little bit. Okay. So now that my shoulders don't lag as much, I can train them with basically minimal volume, and I'm going to hold the muscle that I do have. So I'm not going to lose any. So I'll hold what I have, which they're fine for right now. So now I can transition into maybe training chest more. And I think my back might lag a little bit. We talked about this recently. I need some more, definitely width in my back, but I don't think it's a lagging body part. So I would, or not as lagging chest. So for right now, I'll, maybe 8, 12 weeks, I'll focus on chest and arms. Like arms will always be one of the body parts I focus on. And so for now, for the 8 to 12 weeks, chest is in the mix of working on. And, in 12 weeks, if my chest comes up a little bit, that's progress, that's growth. Then I can train it with minimal volume and it's going to hold the size. And then I can transition to still working my arms, but now throw back in where I'm, working on my back. And then that's what I mean. It's like when you said it's trial and error. It just takes time to build the perfect physique, because if you don't have the good genetics to just, the bro split Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday, hitting one body part a week, some people grow crazy off that. Some people don't benefit at all. I mean, you're going to grow regardless, but what muscle lags, which is crazy because everybody has different muscles that lag, arms, legs, whatever. But if it doesn't keep up with other muscles, then it's going to fall behind. And then that's when bodybuilding takes more of a scientific approach of how you need to set up training and how you need to evaluate moving forward. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is, I'm training chest, back, arms, shoulders, legs, and why does my chest look like this? Or why does my legs look like this? Probably because you need to hit them more frequently, and you're not doing that, and you're just thinking that the bro split is just going to grow everything evenly.
Right. And like, I think that's the thing with you as well. Like, you're prioritizing your arms. So no matter what, as long as your arms are a lacking muscle group, your arms are always going to be prioritized in your training split. So no matter what, it's going to be a lot of focus on arms, but you're also going to be, adding in somewhere else, whether it's chest or whether it's arms and chest or arms and shoulders or arms and back. You're always going to have that priority with arms until you get them to where, they're kind of caught up with the rest of your body.
Right.
So, and like, I think the thing too is you got to remember, as you said, your shoulders have caught up a little bit. When you start prioritizing some chest, as we do a lot of incline, you have to remember you're still getting a lot of front delt, activation there. You're still getting a lot of front delt usage on your incline chest or on your incline presses, any kind of incline flies, things of that nature. So it's not that your shoulders don't even get trained either. So even on your chest days or your push days, when you're not really prioritizing, you're putting a lot of focus on shoulders, you're still getting a little bit of that activation in your front delts and your medial delts as well. So it's not even that your shoulders aren't going to be trained, but taking that all that focus off your shoulders, kind of putting a little bit more into chest and arms, it isn't always going to be a bad thing. And it's not that you can't bounce back shoulders, as needed, So that's the thing. Like I said, trial and error, and that's the fun part of this is it's bodybuilding. That's what it is, and you gotta, this shit doesn't happen 3 months, 4, 5, 6 months. It doesn't happen. It's just years, man. This is a year. It takes years to kind of get to where you want to be, and even at that point, you're still not gonna be satisfied with where you're at, and that's what you got to fall in love with.
Right. I just, because in the past I've switched splits too much and not actually giving it a chance to grow. But whenever the whole COVID thing hit and I was secluded to my basement training, I basically just lifted with Carl, Carl, and I lifted with him all of quarantine, because we went half and half on some gym equipment and put it in my basement and just worked out there daily. And I basically just ran the bro split because that's what he was running. And honestly, I saw a lot of growth. But at the end of the day, like I saw a lot, like honestly, a lot of growth. I think that's when I grew the most. But at the end of the day, I still had lagging shoulders, lagging arms, and I was proportionate. But as I got bigger in the back area and the legs area, I needed the shoulders to become broader. So I worked on it. I grew them. So now I think it's time to move on to, something else.
Right, right. Well, that was a weird time too. It was hard, for a lot of people who didn't have, a lot of equipment disposed to them because you kind of did what you're able to do. You worked with what you had, and you made it work. And now that the gyms for the most part around are back open, um, you're able to get a little bit more variety and be able to, take a more, like you said, a scientific approach to your training and actually be able to add some more variation into what you're doing.
Yeah, that's what I noticed with the clients that I do have. Um, I set all my clients up on the push pull arms leg split until they tell me that, I'm just feeling beat up because that's what happened to me. And then we adjust. But none of my clients are lean enough to assess their weak points. You know what I mean? So like if
Right,
somebody, one of my clients, um, he's 250 pounds and he's not lean enough for me to assess, what's lagging on him because we still need to strip a lot of
right,
fat
right.
off. So
Of course.
I set up just like the split and I kind of, threw in exercises or like set the days up where like I think he lags. Because in terms of like knowing where they lag, if I can't see it through pictures, like check-in pictures, I can kind of see it in like performance, like whether like, I can incline, like if someone can incline, bench 275 for reps, but like their dumbbell shoulder press, they're pressing like 70s. I'm like, well, I can kind of tell that your shoulders lag a little bit. Like definitely in the strength
Hmm.
area, which is definitely in the muscle area. Like if you're incline pressing 275 for reps, your shoulders definitely should be a lot stronger than they are.
Right. And the thing too is I think when it comes to, different type of clients, you got to look at there's a complete different approach when it comes to a general health and wellness client, and just somebody who's trying to, change a lifestyle, get in some better shape and
Right,
lose
right.
weight, or even put on a little bit of muscle. But then there's also then when you get into your bodybuilding clients or you get into your competitive clients, competitors, that's where you really kind of start focusing more on their lacking parts because you look at your general health and wellness clients, most of those are either, hey, man, I'm really skinny. I want to put on some little bit of muscle and just aesthetics. I want to kind of feel better in my body. Or hey, man, I'm 250 pounds. Want to lose 60 pounds here and kind of live a little bit healthier lifestyle. So really, I think when it comes to, and just for example, your client that you were just talking about, when it comes to trying to look for um, lacking areas. I personally, I don't really even think that's a huge priority. I
Mhm.
think priority there is going to be obviously depending on, I don't know, you guys' relationship or what you guys talk about or what his goals are, but you focus on where his goals are, and then once you get down uh, in some weight, and then you kind of get to the point where he's changing body composition a little bit, then that's where you can kind of start assessing and say, all right, where are we going to go from here? But, it's definitely a different aspect and different approach when you go from a general health and wellness client to like a lifestyle client to more of a competitor or more of a bodybuilding client. So there's definitely different sides of it, and you definitely have to take a couple different approaches when it comes to nutrition and dieting. Because here's my thing too, you know, bodybuilders, we eat like dogs. You got to eat like a dog, eat the same fucking shit every day. That's how it is. And for the most part, your general health and wellness clients, you try and get them to eat like that, they're going to get burnt out in a fucking month. And they're going to say, fuck this. I'm going to go back to eating hot dogs and fucking cheeseburgers. Well, that's where you're going to have to take, personally, I really think you got to take a little bit more time with lifestyle clients
Yeah.
because, you got to kind of teach them, you got to teach, tracking food and not even necessarily counting macros, but kind of tracking what their intake is and being mindful of what they're eating and, being able to show, how to eat variety because I think it's a huge part is getting burnt out, and not that I can't say I haven't got burnt out, dude. When I was on prep for 4 months or whatever, 5-6 months, years ago,
Yeah.
I got to the point where I ate so much fucking chicken that I didn't want to look at chicken for 6 months. So I was so burnt out on that shit. So I was eating anything else I could find. And, but once you kind of have that mindset or that mentality, as a bodybuilder, you get to the point where you're just numb and you just eat shit because you got to. So I think that's where you differ with those two
I
kind of
with
clients.
like my lifestyle, general wellness clients, I typically do put them on macros, but it's like, if you're 250 pounds, I'm gonna put you on a set of macros, and a lot of people don't realize that, like, they'll be like, well, I'm 250 pounds, 5'9". I want to lose like 40 pounds. They're like, I'm eating like 2,000 calories a day. A lot of people don't realize that, like, your body needs more than that. Like, yeah,
Right.
I think there's a point where you can eat too little and it'll actually make you gain more weight, or not gain more weight, but hold it in the wrong areas. So like
Your
for a
body will
200,
start holding water.
yeah. So for a
And the thing is, too,
250
when you
pound,
don't eat,
go ahead.
the thing is when you don't eat enough, and I'll make this quick, but people don't realize, you go from eating, people who eat, you don't track your food and say you're eating, 2,200 calories, 2,400 calories a day, and you're just kind of eating whatever the fuck you want. And these people go and eat, well, I'm going to just eat 1,200 calories, 1,000 calories. Yeah, you're going to lose weight. But guess what? One, that's not sustainable. Two, when you start eating like a normal human being again, you just depleted your entire body, your glycogen stores, and you pretty much put your body in starvation mode.
Yeah.
So guess what's going to happen when you start eating like a normal human again?
Right back
All
on.
that's just going to come back. It's coming right back. So, that's why.
That's what, like, the quicker you lose it, the quicker you gain it back. So like
Exactly.
that's like with the clients that come to me, 250 pounds, around our height, and they're like, I've been eating, 2,000, 2,500 calories. I'm like, all right, well, we're gonna start doing cardio, two to three times a week, and we're gonna bump your calories up to like 3,500 or 3,800. And they're like, that's a lot of food. Like, how am I gonna lose weight? And they don't believe in the process. And yet, like, granted, you might gain 2 or 3 pounds when I put you on this new diet, but you have to realize that now we're at a starting point, because if you start at 2,000 calories, where is there to go after that? So if we start
Right.
you at 3,800 calories, we can potentially get you down to 2,000 calories. That's 1,800 calories cut, say 20 weeks, 25, 30 weeks. So like, but these guys will be like, oh, 2,000 calories. I'll just keep doing more cardio, more cardio. You're going to burn yourself out.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And the thing is, too, when you're eating 2,000 calories, what are you eating 2,000 calories of? Especially when you're tracking it, are you eating 2,000 calories of shit? Or are you eating 2,000 calories of, my protein, my carbs, my fats, and my fiber, and everything is balanced out? Um, so the thing is, too, and you got to remember, some of these people who are only eating, say these guys that are 200 pounds, 250, 300 pounds, they're eating 3,000 calories a day or 2,800 calories a day. It's hard for them. You can't just go from eating shit food to bumping them up to eating 3,800 calories of clean, whole food.
A lot of food.
So I think that's where you start. Right, that's a shit ton of food, and that's where I think you got to start. At least I've seen people. Some people don't have a problem with it, but then others, you have to start at that 2,800 calories and slowly transfer that shit food they're eating over into more nutrient dense foods. Still being at 2,800 calories, and work your way up. Work your way up with the protein. Work your way up to that 3,600 calories. Then you're at your baseline. Then you're at your maintenance level of calories, and that's where you kind of want to start dropping from there.
Absolutely.
Because I'll never forget whenever I first started bodybuilding. It was so funny because I thought y'all think everything. So I'm gonna eat all this fucking protein, and I'm not gonna eat carbs and blah 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 whatever before you really get into kind of knowing anything about nutrition. And first coach I started working with, I remember I sent him my first check-in pictures. It was March of 2017, and he said, "How much food did you eat today?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just kind of fucking ate the food that I was eating. And he's like, well, go and track it, go back and track what you ate. So I tracked it and it came out to 1,800 calories. And I was about 170 pounds at this time. And, that week, that next day, I was up to 4,000 calories of clean food. It was egg whites and eggs in the morning with a cup of oats, and then another cup of oats with 2 scoops of protein pre-workout. So I had just all this food, and I mean, there's been times when I first started that, the first month, I was so tired after some of the food that I ate because my body wasn't used to that. I went from eating 1,800 calories to about 4,000 a day. That's crazy. It's a lot of food. There's times that I've eaten my pre-workout meal, and when I was still dating my ex, she competed, and we would go take a nap. I'd take a fucking hour nap before I go to the gym because I was so tired after eating all that food. And it definitely, I learned a lot. I definitely learned a lot, and I was like, man, I really, I was wondering why, wow, why am I not growing? Why am I not doing this? And it took me a while. It took me years to kind of learn all this stuff, and I still, there's so much more to learn. You never stop learning, but it's little things like that where you're not just a kind of example of not being mindful of what you're taking in and what you're eating. Like how I said, I wasn't tracking anything, and then when I went back to look, I was like, damn, I only ate 1,800 calories today, when really I probably should have been eating 3,600, 3,800, 4,000 calories, which, I wasn't mindful of it.
Right. All right. Well, I'm gonna call it there for that type of talk. I want to jump into, the last topic I just want to talk about. We can just touch briefly on this 5-6 minutes. I want to just throw out there, what shows I had lined up, and I want to know what your opinions are, because
yeah, absolutely.
I planned on taking, 2021 off of competing just to put on the size, and with shows not being certain and my last show getting canceled, I definitely don't want to go through a prep and that happen again, because that was a wreck. I think it made me go into more of a down spiral than if I would have did place 10th at the show, just because I actually went through with the show.
Right.
So my goal is to compete 2022. 3 shows potentially, which would be ideal for me, honestly, would be because they have the Pittsburgh Pro, and then they have the IFBB Pittsburgh Pro League. So the Pittsburgh Pro is the Pittsburgh Amateur, people call it. So that's that's I think April 30th. So ideally, I would like to compete in the Pittsburgh Amateur April 30th, and see how well I do. Get my feet in the water, get my name out there, show people what I brought to the stage, what muscle I put on, and then they have the Elite Physique Championships. The NPC Elite Physique Championships is August 29th.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have North Americans the next weekend. So if I'm able to bring the size, because I know I can bring the conditioning, if I can bring the size and compete in the Pittsburgh, say I don't do well, then that gives me time to kind of relax after the show. If that's April 30th, the Elite Physique show is August 29th. So what is that? May, June, July. That's 4 months.
4 months.
Yeah. I could probably have a whole month, maybe 5-6 weeks of just going back into a gaining phase of just putting on I'm not going to say fat, but putting on as much muscle as rapidly as I can within those 4 or 5 weeks. Basically get my balance back of food, my relationship with food because of dieting. So
right.
Then I can go into the NPC Elite Physique Championships, which is August 29th, and that is a national qualifier. So if I was able to place well at that show, the next weekend is the North Americans. And granted, the North Americans is one of the biggest shows. I get that, but it's still, if I placed well enough, if I won overall in the Elite Physique on August 29th, that kind of gives me an idea, hey, maybe I won't do so bad in North Americans. But if I did terrible at the Elite Physique, the North Americans is out of the question because I wouldn't even qualify for it, because the Elite Physique show is a national qualifier. So it would qualify me for North Americans because you can't just walk in North Americans.
Right.
And then, if you potentially win North Americans, that's a pro card right there. And I
Right.
know, Brady. Brady competed at the elite physique. And even like when I was talking to Zach, he told me, those shows are a week apart. You're going to be going into a peak week and then a week later going into another show. And I brought up the same point. I said, well, Brady did not so good at the elite physique. He got beat by Danny Costa. Danny. He got beat by Danny. Danny like swept him. But then they both came back a week later for North Americans, and Brady blew him out of the water. Brady looked like a completely different person in a week and won his pro
Right.
card. So,
Well, here's my thing. If you're planning on taking 2021 off and growing, then you better put the fucking focus on to where it's not even a fucking option of not doing well in April. Because if you're taking a whole fucking year
absolutely.
off, put the size on, you take what you need to take, you know, really put your head down and get your hood up and add that size and make that not even a question of doing well and still plan on doing those shows. Plan on going into the Pittsburgh Amateur and taking that show. Plan on, taking that 4, 5, 6 weeks off in May, put on a little bit of post show size, using that to your advantage, and then taking June, July, the rest of August to prep for those two shows.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's in my head. It's one thing you want to compete maybe sometime in, late 2021, but you're saying you're taking all 2021 off. So my thing is you're taking all this whole year off,
There should be no
and then
excuse to have
plus,
the size.
so then you still have we go into 2022. That's still January, February, March. You're and then competing at the end of April 30th. So that's 4 months. So you're probably going to be starting your prep. I'd say probably 16 weeks out, depending on where you're at physique wise. So you're really going to be what is it now? So technically, you still have a whole nother year, a whole nother 365 days to put size on.
Yeah.
If we're really talking,
Because I think 16
starting
weeks
next
out from
January.
I think 16 weeks out from the Pittsburgh would be literally starting prep like the beginning of January.
December 30th. December 30th.
Yeah.
It'll be 16 weeks out for the Pittsburgh Amateur. So that's what I'm saying. You literally have 11 and a half months to put on size.
Yeah.
And that's a long fucking time. It is a lot of time to put some size on, to put some serious food down, to train some, lift some serious weight, and just really put your head down and grind. So, like I said, I don't think that should be an issue at all for you, with the work ethic that you have and the size that you've put on in the last couple of months just alone. I don't see, you having a problem doing that again this next 11 and a half months.
Yeah.
So
I'm at the point now where I feel like I'm eating 5,000 calories a day now. I've increased my food, and I feel like I'm still holding on to the leanness, and it's almost like I'm tired of holding on to the leanness. Like every time I take progress pictures, like when I send them over to you or send them over to other buddies, like they can tell I'm growing because they don't see me daily. But when I see them saying pictures, I don't notice a difference. Even if I compare pictures from 4 weeks apart, to me, I can't even notice that slight of a difference. So I think I need to. What do you think about the approach of, still eating my meals, all my meals, say 5,000 calories, but every day, having one free meal?
I don't think it's a bad idea, especially not having any, getting going at any show anytime soon. Get the calories in, dude. Get the fucking calories in, and maybe the way I look at it, if depending on what you're going to be training, just so you don't, put on unnecessary weight, unnecessary fat, I guess. Maybe leave that to your training days to start. Don't
Mm-hmm.
just start having a free meal or like a however you want to call it every day, but on your 4 or 5 training days, have that at some point, whether it's post workout, whether it's wherever it's at. Really with you eating 5,000 calories, your meals they're all going to be pretty much equaled out. to the point so you're really not going to be, doing any kind of nutrient timing at that point. But I would really try and maybe just start keeping that with your training days, see where your physique goes within a couple weeks from there, and then adjust and reassess as the time goes.
Yeah. Because I think if I put too much
So,
fat on, I can always just pull back. I could just cut out those free meals,
exactly.
still be eating 5,000, and I would tighten back up.
Right. Exactly. Thing is, too, you don't want to add in, you're doing 7 free meals a week. You don't want to add in 7 free meals a week and then look 4 weeks down the road and you're like, okay, fuck, like I need to take 4 or 5 of these days out and
Right. Because
like,
if I switch to the 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, I'm not, those 2 rest days are going to be strictly rest day foods, cardio, like those. I'm not going to have a cheat on those rest days. I would use that as like lowering the calories, get the insulin sensitivity back down, doing the cardio to keep the calorie burning process. But days like my lagging body part days, like chest and arm days, is where I could throw in a free meal.
Get those extra calories for sure. Push that food into the muscle. It's down the road when we get to talking about drugs and stuff. That's where a lot of some of the drugs come into play. There's a lot of options down the road when it comes to adding extra calories and training certain muscles like that. So for sure.
All right, man. Well, we've been on here for quite some time. I don't want to hold you any longer. I appreciate you coming on here. I can tell you said 30 minutes ago you'd be getting tired, and I see you getting tired.
I'm good. So no, it was awesome talking, and definitely look forward to coming back on and getting a little bit more in depth with a couple other things. And next time I make it up that way, we can maybe do something together in person and get a little bit more in depth on training and a couple different protocols and stuff that we talk about in person.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man. Thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your night, man.
Awesome, brother. Have a good night. I'll see you.